All right, pay attention, people, because this might be the most extreme case of Trump derangement syndrome that we have ever seen. What are we talking about? The White House East Wing Demolition Project.
This morning, sources tell ABC News the entire East Wing of the White House is being torn down as soon as this weekend to make way for President Trump's massive new ballroom, which he now says will cost $300 million. A cost he now claims will be split between private donors and himself.
What's up, everybody? Carlton Flowers here with the Go Political channel, and we've got a great one for you tonight over this crazy topic. So people on the left are posting this picture all over social media, and they're upset and triggered. So in this video, we're going to talk about this whole continuing pattern of outrage by people on the left over Trump's every move. And then we're going to show you the history of White House demolition and improvement projects that some of our previous evil presidents have implemented. And then finally, lastly, I'm going to give you the psychology behind the outrage over the big, beautiful ballroom project. So watch all the way to the end because you're going to want to see this explanation.
This is an interior shot of the ballroom. I think there'll be nothing like it. And it's being paid for 100% by me and some friends of mine, donors to it. The government's paying absolutely nothing.
So as I said, this pattern continues with people from the left being outraged over Trump's every move. And we got some big names out there that are speaking out.
Former First Lady Hillary Clinton dismayed, posting, "It's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it."
The East Wing is indelibly linked with the office of the First Lady and has been really since the time of the Roosevelt administration. Increasingly, of course, in the last 50 years, since Rosalind Carter professionalized the office. I was devastated. I was really devastated. Because we had heard that they were going to save this building, and now it seems they didn't. To me, the devastating piece of it was not so much the building, but the attitude kind of behind the destruction, which basically said that the First Lady's work doesn't really matter to this administration, that it's not important. So the building is gone, right? We know this now. So does that mean the First Lady is going to stop being significant in American society?
Very, very upsetting. So upsetting. And you know what? They're even making jokes about it on late night TV, which just feeds the Trump derangement syndrome, making it even worse.
Welcome to the Late Show, everybody. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert, and I want to welcome everybody tonight. And I welcome you to our continuing coverage of Trump Smash 25. This week on Trump Smash, what Trump Smash is East Wing of White House? Why? Why Trump Smash? For his ridiculous ballroom. As of this morning, the East Wing looked like a rotisserie chicken your dog got into. That is very upsetting to look at. I realize that. And you know the administration knows that because today, the Secret Service closed access to the Ellipse Park, which is a public park from which journalists had been capturing live images of the East Wing demolition. Well, that makes sense. If none of it's on camera, they can just claim the East Wing hanged itself in prison. Now, former staffers and first ladies from both sides of the aisle are pretty upset about this. Penny Adams, who was Pat Nixon's staff in the 1970s, put it this way: "I literally cried as I could see my old office window," she said in an interview with East Wing magazine. Sorry. Used to be East Wing magazine. Now it's Better Holes and Garbage.
So let's be real. No matter what Trump does, it's going to be framed in a negative way. You know, like Free Palestine was the moniker of the left not too long ago. But when Trump ended the war, well, you know what happened there. I mean, it doesn't matter what he does. If he cured cancer, they'd probably say something like he's eliminating diversity. Who knows? Well, let's move on, and we're going to talk about the history of demolition that has gone on in the White House by some of the most evil and nefarious presidents in our history.
Number 1, Theodore Roosevelt.
The evil Republican President Theodore Roosevelt demolished old greenhouses and horse stables, and he had the gall, the ego, to build a West Wing to modernize the executive office space. And he created the East Terrace, the precursor to the East Wing.
Number 2, William Howard Taft.
President Taft, a nefarious Republican, expanded the West Wing and added the first Oval Office, and he had the nerve to demolish parts of Roosevelt's original layout just to accommodate growth.
Number 3, Franklin D. Roosevelt.
FDR, the dirty Democrat president, had the narcissistic gall to add an elevator into the White House and even air conditioning. Oh, the outrage.
Number 4, Harry Truman.
President Truman, the destructive Democrat, undertook the most dramatic overhaul in the history of the White House, where he gutted the entire interior and replaced failing wood beams with steel.
Number 5, John F. Kennedy.
Disrespectful Democrat President JFK demolished and rebuilt parts of the East Wing interior for First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy's restoration project. They focused on historical accuracy while they destroyed history, replacing it with what they called elegance.
Evil honorable mention, Richard Nixon.
Reprehensible Republican President Tricky Dick Richard Nixon had the nerve to build a swimming pool on the sacred grounds of the East Wing.
All right, well, that history is certainly intriguing and very interesting, but let's get to the big question. Why is Trump's ballroom, the big, beautiful ballroom, a literal upgrade, treated like an act of war? And where was the outrage all throughout history for everything that you just saw? Did we have FDR derangement syndrome back in the day? Or JFK derangement syndrome? I'm right here in Missouri. Does anyone know if we had Truman derangement syndrome? I don't know. I guess that's a project for somebody else to study and research. So let's move on to the psychological analysis of this craziness. I've got 5 things, 5 different explanations for what manifests itself, like it does with this particular topic, as Trump derangement syndrome. And we're going to start out with paradoxical intention. From Viktor Frankl's existential psychology, people sometimes become so obsessed with avoiding something, for example, Trump's influence, that they unintentionally amplify it. In this case, the outrage over a ballroom, a neutral or at best case a positive improvement, it becomes a self-defeating spiral of emotional overreaction. Next, we have the confirmation bias. This is the tendency to seek out and interpret information that confirms one's existing beliefs. All right? So with the left-leaning critics that may see Trump's every action, even a construction project, as proof of authoritarianism because they're primed and programmed to expect it, well, that's confirmation bias. Moving on, displacement and projection. Anger about broader issues like Trump's policies and his persona get projected onto unrelated actions. The ballroom isn't the real issue. It's a proxy for unresolved emotional tension. Interesting. Next, we have moral contagion and sacred symbolism. This is an interesting one. When a space like the White House is treated as sacred ground, any change feels like defilement. The East Wing becomes symbolic of holy ground. And Trump's demolition is framed as desecration, even though past presidents made far more drastic changes. The last one we have is group polarization. In echo chambers, opinions become more extreme. Online discourse amplifies the idea that Trump's ballroom is a dictatorial monument, even if it's just a venue for state dinners. Very, very interesting indeed. Now, let's wrap this all up and then get to the questions. This isn't really about architecture. It's about obsession. Trump derangement syndrome isn't just a meme. It's a psychological condition with real symptoms. And the East Wing Project, well, it's just the latest trigger. Now, I got 3 questions for you. These are very important, and I want you to sound off in the comments. Here's the chance for you to be heard. First question, what do you think the most ridiculous example of Trump derangement syndrome is that you have ever seen? Post that in the comments. Next question, should presidents be allowed to renovate the White House, or is it sacred ground? Third question, final question. If the roles were reversed and Kamala Harris was in the White House and she wanted to make, what would we call it? Instead of the big, beautiful ballroom, maybe it would be the ballroom of joy. Do you think the reaction on the right would be exactly the same as the reaction on the left to Trump's big, beautiful ballroom? Okay, here we go. Bonus question. I just thought of this one. If Trump built a hospital in the East Wing, would they still call it fascism? And would they accuse him of being a Nazi oligarch? Okay, I kid, but I would love it if you would like, comment, subscribe, and tick the notification bell so you don't miss any future video. And let me know if you enjoyed this and like this format. And stay tuned, because the next explainer is going to be on the topic of immigration. I'm still working on it, but I promise you it's coming your way. That's all I got for this one. This is Carlton, and I am out.